All right, guys. I gave him kind of a little intro, Sarah, to you. Me and Sarah worked together in Orlando in the youth club and got to know each other through that. But she has a really cool story. She's an amazing college player, even better professional player and stuff. So, Sarah, take it away.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for letting me join this call. I'd also like to kind of just say how sorry I am for you girls that your spring season was kind of canceled. Hopefully, obviously your main season's in the fall, and so I think that would be a little bit more devastating for you girls, but hopefully you girls are in somewhat good spirits. So like kind of what, I don't know exactly what Coach John Markey said, but I have quite the background in soccer. Hopefully you girls can kind of relate to my background. I played at a small Division I school. And so hopefully some of the things that I'll talk about, you girls can kind of relate to. But what I really want to do with this time is kind of share with you girls how to make the most out of your 4 years at Lynn University. So what I'm doing now is kind of allowing me to kind of reach out to athletes like yourselves. I work alongside Chipotle. Hopefully you girls all eat there, maybe not. But what I do is I work in the Orlando area speaking to youth athletes about nutrition and how it impacts their performance. So basically, is there anyone from Orlando specifically? Yeah, what high school did you go to?
Bishop Moore.
Oh, okay. I actually spoke to the girls program there during season. Do we have any international people?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, where are you from?
Finland.
And I'm from New Zealand.
New Zealand.
And I'm from Sweden.
Sweden, awesome.
Yes.
The only Swedish word I know is skull.
Oh yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
There's Dorothea. We have Norway too.
Norway too? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Norway.
Oh, awesome. So when I played in Germany for Bayern Munich, I had a Swedish teammate. She's on the Swedish national team, Olivia Sko, I think you said her last name. And Nora Hallstad, I think. I don't know if you girls know them or not, but it was pretty cool to play alongside some international players like that. But like I said, basically, I just want to kind of give this time to kind of help share my path in college soccer and how I got to the next level. I think a big part of enjoying your time is making sure that you're managing your time, right? So obviously, you girls have to balance between academics, your athletics, and your social life. And sometimes people really struggle with that. For me personally, I struggled with the academics side of being a college student athlete. But I think it's important that, you can't focus on just 2 out of the 3. You have to focus on all of them. So I think a way that you girls can do that is by leaning on each other. Obviously, if you're just focused on your academics and your athletics and you're not having a good social life, you're gonna get burnt out after a while. The next thing that really had an impact on me was taking care of your body, right? I'm sure as the freshman, your bodies are younger, you're able to last longer. Maybe recovery isn't a huge part of your routine, but by your senior year, I think you girls will start to realize that, hey, I really need to start taking care of my body more often. So I know kind of recovery methods have kind of changed since I was in college. There's a lot more technology in it, but what are some things that you girls do to make sure that you're recovered after a game? Anyone want to share?
I eat carbs like pasta and stuff.
Okay, so nutrition is one part. Yep.
Usually we stretch after games and all together with our ropes.
Okay.
I sleep well.
Good. Sleep, that's an important part, right? If you're not getting enough sleep and rest, your body's not going to be able to properly recover. Anything else physically besides stretching?
We have the compression pants, that like recovery pants that compress the muscles and promote blood flow.
So I was constantly in those. We didn't have them in college, but in the professional level, we all fought over the Normatec pants.
Yeah.
Anything else? Foam rolling?
Yeah, I was gonna say foam rolling or like a recovery run. Nothing like crazy, but just like getting your legs moving a little bit.
Sometimes people do ice baths like the next day.
Good. Yeah, those are all great things. When I was in college, we had mandatory ice baths after all of our games. And if our coach did not see us in the ice bath after a game, those people had to run fitness 2 days later during our first practice. So again, recovery may not be what you want to be doing right after a game, but in order to perform at your absolute best, 2 days later, 3 days later, those methods or those things that you do to recover right after a game are really important. And the quicker that you do that, the quicker that your body can recover. Obviously, I think when I look back at my career, all those things, it's all about being mature, right? You can not do those things and all of a sudden it kind of catches up with you, right? So again, it's just getting in a good habit and making those habits into a routine. And then lastly, just putting in the work, right? If you're managing your time and you're taking care of your body, but you're not spending the time to actually get better, the results are only going to go so far for you. So obviously coaches, and I know John can attest to this, coaches love seeing players show up early. Coaches love seeing players stay late to get in extra touches, coming in on your off days. I know fall season is a little bit more difficult because you're traveling more. You got games twice a weekend. You want to make sure that you're at your peak performance for those times. But so spring season can be a great option for you girls. Obviously right now is not a great time. What are you girls doing during this time since you can't be at the facilities? Anyone want to share with me and fill me in with what you girls are currently doing?
I work
running.
Sorry.
We all started to share at once. Well, I know for me, I like to just do a HIIT workout or something like that, and then get like a 1 or 2 mile run in afterwards, and mainly just body weight stuff because I don't really have weights, but that's what I really like to do.
Good. Someone else?
Yeah, I basically do the same thing. I try to run about 3 times during the week, and then or bike ride, do some abs, and then I try to eat healthy too.
Good.
I've been doing a lot of running, biking, and swimming. I've really enjoyed the swimming so far. It's helped a lot, I feel like. And then also, I have weights, so I've just been working with weights too outside.
I've been running frequently. I'll run about three times a week, and I do touches on the ball twice a week. And I've been doing a lot of weightlifting too because I have a little weight room I set up on the back porch. So it's been really nice. And I've been making sure I eat really healthy. I've been focusing on that more than anything, actually.
Good. Yeah, I think it's really important that you girls kind of diversify what you're doing, right? Sometimes going for the same run, doing the same workout time after time, especially during this time because we don't know how long this is going to last. It gets old real fast. So kind of be creative with your workouts. Obviously, you girls all have each other, so that makes it a lot easier to kind of brainstorm and come up with different ideas. Lastly, I just want to touch base. I'm sure John kind of shared with you girls kind of my path in my professional career. I had doubts, all right? So if some of you, just raise your hand if you want to play professionally. Cool, yeah. When I was really young growing up, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I didn't have a plan B. I didn't, dream to be a firefighter or a police officer or a scientist. I had no ambitions to do anything besides soccer. And obviously the older you get, you know, getting to college is a great feat, but I started doubting whether or not I could play at that next level. And I just really want to share with you girls that there are leagues, there are ways for you girls to get to that next level. You know, there's leagues all over Europe. I'm sure the international players can attest to that there's so many different ways that you girls can, and teams that you can play on. So don't ever doubt that you're not good enough, because there is a fit for you. And then kind of lastly, I just wanted to close, pretty much on my end, for my advice. In our locker room wall in college, we had the phrase "bringing out the best in each other." All right, and to this day, I talk to my college teammates, and we all had the same. We all remember it. We all remember the impact it had on us, and kind of what it meant to us was, no matter if you were stepping out onto the field, if you're getting ready for a game or a practice, we all wanted to bring out the best in each other. So how could we make the people around us better? Same thing if it was in the classroom or in personal life. Be there for each other, because the people that you're with right now that are on this screen, you girls are going to remember for the rest of your lives. So that's kind of my advice in that. Does anyone have any questions about my journey professionally, from playing international overseas in Germany for Bayern Munich, playing for the Orlando Pride, what it was like playing with the US Women's National Team? You girls are more than welcome to kind of ask me a few questions before. I know you girls have a Disney trivia game, so I don't want to interrupt on that, but you're more than welcome to ask me questions.
Sarah, I have a question. What do you think like your biggest challenge was that you had to overcome in college when you were a player?
That's a good question. I think for me personally, it was, so I came from a very small school, and I was getting a lot of, you know, my freshman year, I had 24 goals, I think, 24, 26, something like that. And so going into my next year, it was kind of, all right, well, yeah, Milwaukee's a small school, but all they really have is Sarah Hagen. And so it was, you know, other teams really keyed on me. And so it was, all right, well, how can I, you know, bring out the best in my teammates? How can I take the focus off of me? Because sometimes, you know, I didn't want to have to do too much. It's how can I get other players involved, to make it, you know, not going up against Sarah Hagen, but going up against the Milwaukee Panthers.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you get connected with the teams, like the professional teams, after college?
Yeah, so when I finished my 4 years at UW Milwaukee, I signed with an agent who's actually based in Germany that my college coaches knew, and we created like a highlight video. He sent it out to a bunch of different clubs all over Europe, and at the time, the NWSL did not exist. That's how old I am. It was actually the WPS. And so my college coaches were like, we think the WPS is going to fold. We've heard a lot of rumors. We think it's best that you go overseas. So I took a chance on Bayern Munich. I still happened to be drafted by Philadelphia that year in the draft. And within a month of being over in Germany, the US League folded. So it ended up being a really good move on my part. And then I ended up staying there for 2.5 years. By the time I came back to the States to play for Kansas City in 2014, at that point, I became like a discovery player, so I could choose whatever team I wanted to come back to in the US League. So that was kind of my journey from Germany coming back to the States.
Did you find that there was a difference between the European football and then the American?
Yeah, 100%. the German league was much more, they pay a lot more attention to the details of how you want to build the ball up the field, how you want to defend as a group of 11. Whereas the US league, I felt, was much more based on your athleticism. It was very much more transitional based. How fast can you transition from winning the ball to getting to the other team's goal? The US league was also much more physical. But again, I learned so much from both leagues. I think if I was evaluating myself and where I fit best, it was definitely the German league. I'm 5'11". Obviously, you can't tell how tall I am on the screen, but I'm 5'11". I'm rather tall. So I was a center forward, kind of like a back to goal in the box, score a lot of goals with my head. So I definitely strived and did really well in the German style league, where we had a lot of crossing and finishing and kind of playing that back to the goal. Good question. Anything else?
I have a question. What was your, what would you say like your weakest point was? Like, was it like fitness, or what was something that you kind of like struggled with? Like, what would you say was your weakness in college?
Yeah, and I think, that's a great question. I think it's really important for players, as far as development, to understand what your strength is and what your weakness is. So what makes you a really, really good player? Like I already mentioned, I was good in the air. I was good at possession, but my weakness was definitely my fitness. I wasn't necessarily the quickest and fastest, but my endurance is what really hurt me as far as playing time towards the end of my career. So yeah, my fitness really kind of, I always had to work extremely hard at that. I always had coaches really push me hard at that. There was a time in college where we were doing 120s, so full field sprints. And our coach said everyone had to get it in 16 seconds, but I had to get them in 14 seconds. Otherwise, everyone had to keep running. So it was a constant theme throughout my career. I don't know, for whatever reason, I think some people just really struggle with fitness. I was one of them. And then obviously by the end of my career, the mental side of the game became hard for me. So when you're not starting as much, I started every single game when I was playing for Bayern Munich. And then coming back to the States, I kind of had a new role, and I really struggled with the mental side of that. So that was probably one of my bigger challenges in my career.
What were some things, like, to bounce off that question, that like you would do to help either like the fitness part and would be mentally and physically for what happened towards the end of your career, and then also like with college with your running and stuff? Like, what were some things that you saw did help improve, like, or did it just kind of over time long term get better?
Fitness is something that's so mental, right? So I tried so hard when we would run fitness tests and stuff like that to keep positive thoughts in my mind. Like I mentioned, I'm 5'11", I'm a taller girl, so I didn't have the luxury of, taking shorts. I really focused on taking smaller steps out of turns, trying to not have long strides until I got to open up really. And then obviously playing in Germany, the training, our weekly training was pretty different from the US kind of training style. In Germany, we focus much more on athletics. So I would probably say almost every single practice, we had some sort of circuit lined up on the field. So we would have our technical bit, tactical bit, and then we'd finish with some sort of circuit working on explosiveness, some longer runs, stuff like that. So every single practice, we were trained for so long. Our preseasons were 10 weeks long, which is insane. Yes. So I think I was probably the fittest playing in Germany. The US league, it seemed like we did a lot of just small-sided playing, which is great. But like I said, some players don't have to work for fitness. So I had to do a lot of stuff on my own rather than getting that fitness and athleticism in practice every single day.
Sarah, wait, am I on mute? No. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was muted. Sarah, what was like one of the coolest experiences you ever had in your playing career?
Oh, wow. I would probably say my first 4 months over in Germany, so Bayern, when I joined Bayern Munich, they were on the verge of getting moved down to the second division. They were in 8th place out of 10 teams, or 10th place out of 12 teams. And we ended up jumping back up. I think we finished in 4th place by the end of that season, where we also qualified for the German Cup, the Pokal. So we ended up winning it all against Frankfurt. So if some of the girls know Ali Krieger, she was playing on Frankfurt. Well, she was injured at that time, but she was on the team. So that was kind of like the biggest, at that time in my life, that was the biggest game that I'd ever played in. There was just about 17,000 people there. It was at FC Cologne's stadium, the men's stadium. I scored the winning goal and assisted on the second. So that was pretty cool. And then obviously being with the Orlando Pride, playing in the inaugural season at the Citrus Bowl in front of like 23,000 fans, setting the record for the NWSL at that time. That was also pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I was at that game.
Ah, nice.
Girls, does anybody else have any questions for Sarah? It'd be a rare opportunity to have someone like her with us. So if you have any questions, feel free to blurt them out. The only last one I'd say, Sarah, is how is it representing your country? I mean, that's something we all dream about, like how cool that could be. And how was that?
Yeah,
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was pretty surreal. Obviously, I think when we all start out, we have those role models. Mine was Brandi Chastain when I was growing up, just because when she ripped her shirt off during the '99 World Cup, I was like, oh my God, that's so iconic. I want to be just like her. So I had like all those role models growing up. And then when I first got called into my first national team camp, I was like, this is pretty cool. It just, it comes through and you get an email, you respond back. It's kind of like no big deal. And then when you actually, fly there, get there, everything's US Soccer. You have to wear Nike, all that kind of stuff. And then you start meeting some of the people, Carly Lloyd, Hope Solo, Tobin Heath, and you're rooming with them in the hotels during camps. It's pretty cool. I think one thing, I probably got called into 6 different camps, had 2 caps against Sweden and Denmark. I think one thing, if I look back at my time with the U.S. national team, I wish I would have been a little bit more assertive. I think it's really easy to go into one of those situations. There's a lot of big egos, a lot of big personalities. You kind of have to not be afraid of the moment and kind of take it by charge. But I mean, my first cap, I subbed onto the field for Abby Wambach. Couldn't have asked for a cooler experience. So it was pretty awesome.
That is cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything for Sarah?
When you met like all of those people that like could like potentially be role models for you, did any of them like not meet the expectations you had for them?
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, without really throwing anyone under the bus, yeah, I mean, there's people you show up and you're like, wow, maybe they weren't the nicest, or, I mean, you also have to realize that some of those girls, they've been getting called in for years, and they see people get called in here and there, left and right, every other month, every other camp. So I think it's, and some people have kids on camp, you know what I mean? Like some people had to take care of a baby. So maybe it's harder to build relationships with some of those people. And sometimes they can come off a little cold. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job, right? You're getting paid a lot of money to represent your country and to perform at a high level. You know, maybe you're not going to be best friends with everyone. So, I mean, yeah, there were some people, but I mean, it was such a cool experience. It's hard to really focus on that small aspect of it. But yeah. Cool. Yeah, so like I mentioned, obviously I was planning on making a trip down to Lynn University. When I saw John Laston at the Sunrise Prime ID camp, we had talked about me coming down and speaking to you girls personally, and feeding you girls some Chipotle. So we'll just have to postpone that for a later date. But again, thanks so much for letting me kind of share my story with you girls. Hopefully you took something away from my kind of talk. Obviously, like I mentioned, I came from a smaller Division I school and was able to make it to the national team. So if that's not motivation enough or inspiration enough, I don't know what is.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you sharing your story, and we look forward to finally getting you down on campus and the girls get to meet you in person. So,
Of course.